So I finally had the time to sit down and watch the first episode of Sword Art Online Season 3. Now, before I get into talking about this extra long episode that is 47 minutes long if you're not counting commercials, this was probably by far, as a fan of SAO, one of my favorite adaptations of Sword Art Online I've seen thus far. Now, I know in the anime community, or just, people that love anime, manga, light novels, whatever, and, the community, many love to hate on SAO. It has a stigma. There's people that love to just throw its name in the mud, and I understand. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a right to dislike something. I will never say you don't. However, I feel like after this season, I feel like we'll see more people starting to appreciate Sword Art Online for what it really is and enjoy it a lot more than they did. Because, honestly, I am a little bit biased towards SAO, okay? I mean, I love, as I've said in other episode reviews and stuff I've done in the past, I love SAO just because of the themes of it, virtual reality to gaming. It's very interesting. It was a concept when I first encountered it you didn't really see often. It was the first show I really saw, like that, and obviously a lot of series has kind of spawned from that genre, or this new genre that SAO has created. It's not something that, is not there anymore. It happens all the time. We see series like SAO, but SAO, I have bias towards it because of how much I really liked it when I first watched it. And it's not a perfect series by any means. Season 1 has so many issues. Season 2 has some issues, but it's definitely a step in the right direction for, the franchise, for the anime adaptation of SAO. But this first episode did things that honestly impressed me. And to kind of clarify a couple of things, it actually added in some new scenes to give clarification to some elements that happen within the light novel that didn't kind of make sense. Like, it made sense, but you didn't get the details on it. It's kind of like the reader, the light novel writer, just like, okay, so this is what happened, all that, there you go. He didn't really show it, you didn't really get to actually see it yourself or read it yourself. You just got a brief little summary or something, but we actually got to see certain things, like with GGO in this episode. We got to see some elements, with, Kirito and all that, and Asuna just hunting down this PvP group, and we're getting to see, like, the subtle build-up to the remaining member, Laughing Coffin, and someone that was also working with Def Gun. So, I like these little elements that it's clear as day they added in just to give more clarity to some things that weren't properly finished in the light novel. So that automatically made me very impressed with this adaptation. That's not including the content that they adapted from the light novels. Now, to give a little bit of groundwork, okay, what makes this so good and why this is probably the most beloved arc, at least from what I know of from the community of SAO, is one of the most beloved arcs of SAO because of just how different it is. It definitely has a different vibe to it, especially if you're watching this as an anime only. You probably notice it's kind of different. It has definitely a different, feel to the story. It honestly feels a lot more like an isekai series than an actual VR game series that we've seen constantly from Season 1 or even Season 2. It feels a little bit more real. And this brings up a very interesting theme or concept within the series that makes you start thinking, at what point do we associate VR with reality? For instance, see, when we're in our regular state of mind right now, this is reality to us. But if you were able to go into a simulation, into a game, and then you were able to feel, think, see, remember, dream, eat, and just feel everything you would in reality, when does VR or a game stop being a game? And that's what this arc kind of does. It kind of dives into this theme, this concept where you're wondering, if this is like this is, is it potentially possible that maybe, let's say, we are in a simulation? Who knows? But it's a really interesting theme, and I like how this arc really expresses that. That's at the very least why I enjoy it so much, because it really makes you think. Now, in terms of why people do enjoy it, it's one of the longest arcs. I think it's still ongoing, actually, which, FYI, I'm not caught up. I am not caught up with the light novel. The last light novel I read was around light novel 13. I believe there's 17 light novels now. I could be wrong, but the reason why I'm not caught up is not because I dropped it, is because when I did catch up, there was no more light novels and all that. I was completely caught up with the translation, and I just didn't feel like getting around to reading it. That's just what it really came down to, even though it left me on a pretty bad cliffhanger at the end of Volume 13, which kind of made me a little bit mad, but I mean, I just never got around to reading after that. But yeah, the point is that this is one of the longest arcs of SAO. Normally, arcs in SAO last maybe a volume or two, maybe 3 at max. But this goes on, I think, for about, oh man, I think it's been going on for like 6 volumes now. It's ridiculous. 6 to 7 volumes this arc has been going on. Now, if you are a fan of this type of genre, and you have seen the previous works of the writer of SAO, most likely you are very aware of A Cell World. A Cell World is a series that came out a very long time ago, around the exact same time as SAO Season 1. Personally, in comparison to SAO and then A Cell World, I actually like A Cell World a lot more, because not just because of, let's say, the gaming experience, but the MC was very unique at the time, and you just don't really see much like that. But the concept of that is actually what is used, you can kind of see in the Underworld arc that we're getting into for SAO Season 3. You can already start to see that. This is kind of like the precursor to something like that in A Cell World. Now, just as an FYI, A Cell World is actually set in the same universe as SAO. So that's why I'm talking about it and why it's actually relevant to this video. Anyways, point is that if you like SAO, like you like Season 1, Season 2, be prepared to declare this as your favorite arc of the anime. And be prepared to say that this is honestly one of the best series I've seen of this year. If it's done right. That's the only thing, if it's done right. There is some details, obviously, I can't talk about that does happen, that I know of, that would ruin the experience for you anime only. So I don't want to do that. But if it's done right, it's going to really make you think. And it's just a great concept I think SAO always had the potential of doing, but it never dived into it until this point, and that's why people have fallen in love with it. First episode, 47 minutes long. Honestly, I can't believe how long it is. I was very surprised to hear that the first episode would be 47 minutes long, because that's not normal. That doesn't happen often. That really doesn't. It's a rarity to see a series get that type of treatment. Even popular series. I mean, they don't normally get that. They might have an early showing or something, but they don't normally ever get like an hour episode. So that surprised me that they were willing to dedicate that much time. And within the first episode, the quality of it, there was not a single moment throughout the episode where I did not see sign of movement. And what I mean is characters were always moving. There was never a moment where they're like, and just sitting there for 5 seconds. Like, you know when you're watching an anime and there's like a still frame that pops up and the image just slowly rotates to the side or whatever, and it's just appearing on more. It has a still frame, it pops up, they're just like all confused or whatever, like they're just looking, and then it zooms out a little bit, you just see the people walking, and then it zooms back in the face, the same exact image. You don't see that within this first episode of SAO Season 3, which that is also what surprised me, was because within an hour episode, a 47-minute episode, I expected to see a lot of still frames, but no. The only thing negative I did see within the first episode, personally I saw, is CGI, but there wasn't even a lot of that. There was barely any CGI. Honestly, you won't even probably notice the CGI unless you're really looking for it. And I was really pleased that there was a lot of character models that were just properly animated, not just full CG. I liked how a lot of, the soldiers of, the Dark Knight and the Knight, we saw the White Knight fighting at the same time in the episode. It wasn't full CG. That, I was happy. I was very happy to see that as a fan of SAO. So, it seems like with this adaptation, the company working on this, the studio, definitely wants to do a lot better job. Because I heard that this was going to be going on for like 3 or 4 course. It's going to be a lot of episodes. That's kind of ridiculous for SAO as well. Because normally SAO is only like 24, maybe 25 episodes per season, which is still a lot. I like that. But for this story, it's definitely not enough episodes. So if they're going to have this type of quality that we saw with the first episode for, like, say, the next 30 plus, And count me in. This is definitely something that I want to be looking forward to every single week to watch. I believe this comes out every Saturday. I know it's Monday when you're going to be seeing this video. I've been very busy this weekend, as I talked about in my little vlog video I made on the channel. But this is definitely going to be a highlight of my week. Now, before anyone starts to hate on it, at the very least, give it a chance. Before you start downplaying SAO, putting it down just because of the title, at least give this season a chance. If you still do not like SAO after this season, then by all means, hate on it. But on top of that, I don't really know what happens after Volume 13. I don't really know what to expect. So, for all I know, it might have went bad. I have no idea, but I've heard a lot of good things. So, that's all I really know at this time. So, anyways, getting into the setting to what kind of happened throughout the episode, we open up to kind of like a fantasy setting, like in a Sekai-themed series, and that's probably what'll throw everybody for a loop, is because while you're watching, you're like, you see this young Kirito, but then you see this character with him that's also young, and you're like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, what's happening? Obviously, they're like in a game or something, that's what you would assume, but as it continues on, and they're interacting, and, they're just, having fun, and, Kirito starts, feeling things like food and all that, you're like, whoa, this is different from SAO or anything we've seen. You can't normally really taste anything. That was a big flaw with the original SAO, is that characters really couldn't taste anything at all and be happy. So seeing something like that, these little elements all wanting to get ice and all that, you're like, okay, so this is definitely different from what we have experienced. And as it continues to go on, you're like, okay, so when is when are they going to get out of the game? When are we going to see, action in the real life? And you keep seeing, these little elements that remind you that they're in some form of, simulation or game or something, because they start talking about system call, or especially when the reporting service popped up reporting Alice, you just saw that there was some game features or whatever within this, but once again, Kirito really never acknowledged that. He never even talked about anything like that, which was probably the biggest, misleading part about the beginning of the episode. And when everything went down, and you saw, let's say, Alice dragged away, and what happened, and when you saw a system error in a character's eye, you're like, whoa, wait, what? What's going on here? And then he wakes up, and you see a tear come down his eye, which this automatically showed how different it was, because Kirito got emotionally attached, and then he cried. And then that was it. But it was also stated within this episode that every time he wakes up, his memories are lost. So he doesn't really know what's going on within the confines of this simulation or game. He has no idea. But from what we can see, it does feel very real to him. It feels like he's probably really there. And that is, what separates this from the original arcs. Because now, he's constantly, if he is losing his memories going in, or, not being able to keep them, he's constantly like, whoa, is this my real reality? Is this not? It would probably be very shocking and unnerving to have something like that happen to you. So, Kirito's experience at the start sets up for what to expect throughout the rest of at least what I have read of the light novels. And I feel like you're gonna fall in love with it. There is a lot of Alice in Wonderland themes in this, arc, because, we have the Looking Glass reference, we have, Alice literally looking like Alice in Wonderland and all that. I love those type of themes and how they were really nailed properly throughout this first episode. So, yeah, I think many of you can kind of understand that my first impressions of SAO Season 3 is very positive. I know there's going to be many who are going to be hating on it, not liking it, because just the title, but I feel like, I hope people give this a shot, because it's so good. It really is. But that's about it. I want to end it there. Let me know your thoughts, how you felt about everything. Did you enjoy the first episode? Did you hate the first episode? How do you feel about this long arc we're about to get into? I love you guys. Be safe. If you enjoy my content, subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.